Alrighty everyone, welcome back. It is now March 21st of 2023, and given that FAVREAU, Filoni, and other creators are really joining in to really stabilize the franchise and really bring a good balance to all of the Mandoverse era projects, as well as other brand new eras coming to life in live-action adaptations, we also have a lot of things that Kathleen Kennedy's going through. As you all know, she's been struggling and having a very hard time with the Acolyte TV show by Leslie Headland, and Disney executives have really not been all that happy as of late, going through all the test footage that's being supplied almost every single day for the overall series. That's going to be 8 episodes in total, 1 whole hour each, excluding credits, by the way. So, anyways, on top of this, we know that Kathleen Kennedy is trying to really turn things around. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new, and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. Now, given that there's a lot of things happening between George, John, and Dave to really attempt to bring Star Wars back to the norm, we already know that John and Dave are helping out with the Acolyte series, but recent test footage that was supplied by Kathleen Kennedy to the Disney executives, including CEO Bob Iger, they've been very unhappy and are viewing this as a major red flag, a big red flag, mind you, for one of the opening scenes of the Acolyte TV show, which, by the way, we've talked about this briefly before, that it's going to be a mixture of moments in the present and moments in the events of The Phantom Menace. So it's going to have a flash forward in the opening of the Acolyte. So let's dive right into this and exactly what everything really means by what Kathleen Kennedy has done and what she's still currently doing with the Acolyte series as we speak. Now, on top of this too, with Kathleen Kennedy and Leslie Headland having tons of trouble with the Acolyte show, recently Kennedy presented more footage to the Disney executives for the Acolyte series. This is said to involve the opening scene of the show that Disney already views as a big red flag for the show and how much it is set to break the current canon. The footage that Kennedy recently delivered to Disney that they were very unhappy with involved the female Sith character that appears like Jessica Chastain fighting against another female Sith. This is said to be a training session where the white-haired Sith character is training the other one how to train and think like a Jedi to properly infiltrate the Jedi Order. This Sith is described to have been once a Jedi that turned Sith that knows and holds the knowledge to switch back and forth between being a Jedi and a Sith at will, and is one of her valuable powers that she is trying to pass down to her younger Sith warrior. As they are dueling, one is using a single-bladed saber while the other is using a dual-bladed one, much like Darth Maul's. Now, guys, let me just stop here quick for one moment before I move on to the bigger elements about all of this, is that I have never seen anything like this in Star Wars Legends or even the canon, where a Sith character can just turn to becoming a Jedi at will. This makes absolutely no sense, and it's infuriating, I'm sure, for a lot of fans right now that Kathleen Kennedy attempted to do something so crazy like this, because not only does this take away the value of either being a Jedi or being a Sith, and how one can just switch between the two on command to trick a specific group, I'm not quite sure how a lot of fans are going to take this. Now, thankfully, Disney is stepping in. They're calling for this entire scene to be deleted, to be completely erased from the opening scene, and so I think that's good news. The only bad news is that, yes, it's going to drastically reduce the running time of the first episode unless they do a reshoot, which, by the way, is exactly what Bob Iger is calling for. He is asking for an entirely brand new scene that is nowhere near as reckless as this. So, it's very interesting that this is, a moment where it's gone this far by Kathleen Kennedy, where she doesn't really know how to handle Sith and Jedi lore, or even the canon, and how this single-handedly literally just strips the value of being a Sith and or a Jedi. It really does. Because then, what's stopping other Jedi from acting like a Sith to, to kind of trick other Sith Lords? It just makes no sense to me. That's just my 2 cents there. Anyways, moving on to the next big thing here, it only gets a little bit worse, is that on top of this too, It's noted that further, the footage that Kennedy and Leslie filmed also involves a moment in which these two Sith characters then drop their crimson blades and pick up Jedi ones, and then begin to act and think like Jedi as best as they can while training. This is described to be their way of tracking the Jedi Order, and of course also infiltrating it into believing that they are on their side all this time, to learn how the Order thinks and is trying to find Sith tribes and hiding across the galaxy. Disney executives feel that this breaks and at least devalues any kind of barriers between the Jedi and Sith, and are now calling for the scene to be completely deleted. Kennedy has already been ordered to actually reshoot the entire scene, and Leslie is having a very hard time with that, and they will begin doing this sometime by this April. John and Dave are said to be taking over some elements of the opening sequence already on the opening moment for these two Sith characters. Now, I want to stop here quick too, because this too really just seems like it's out of whack. Now, you have these two Sith characters that are acting like Jedi, or are able to switch between being a Jedi at will. Basically, the Sith character is passing on her knowledge to a younger one, and eventually, through a time-lapse type scenario, you see the younger one achieve the same exact type of power. This is how they infiltrate the Jedi Order. They can literally just become Jedi at the flip of a dime. And I'm not quite sure where Kathleen Kennedy or Leslie gets these ideas from, but it just does not feel like Star Wars, to me at least. It feels like they're trying to really just strip away the meaning of how much training it takes to become a Sith, and how much training it takes to become a Jedi. And to switch just back and forth at will, it seems like, I don't even know what kind of words I could describe this as. I mean, it's just so soulless when writing something like this. So that's exactly why the Disney executives are stepping in. They're absolutely concerned about this scene seeing the light of day. They don't want it to ever see the light of day, by the way. And this is exactly why, by the way, guys, the Acolyte is going through so many delays and so many setbacks. There have been numerous reshoots, numerous rewrites every single month. And it just goes to show you that Kennedy and Leslie don't know anything about Star Wars. They literally just don't know anything about the lore. So I'm really intrigued to hear what you all have to offer with your, opinion on this, about Kennedy's approach to these two Sith characters being able to bounce back and forth between being a Jedi and a Sith at will within seconds, just like that. And it just really breaks things for me. I don't know. So the Acolyte show, on top of this too, we know that yes, it is going to be a mystery thriller about emerging dark side powers. I'm inclined to believe that this is one of the emerging dark side powers, the ability to turn into a Jedi like that at the snap of a finger. So, anyways, with that being all said, we know that Kennedy's getting herself into more trouble with the Acolyte show. It's not good business for her and for Disney, and it's not looking good for anybody right now. So, fill me in below in the comments what you all have to say about this, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
From night to moon we hear them moans again.